Most of us don't realize just how cluttered our lives have become. Think about this. What is the first thing you do in the morning? If you're like most people, you would grab your phone. Not just to check the time, but to scroll through messages, look at Bitcoin prices, and make sure a zombie apocalypse didn't happen overnight. And that's before we even get out of bed. The day quickly devolves into chaos. You didn't make it to the gym, you forgot to put your laundry in the dryer, and your plans to do something productive in the evening quickly falls apart when 6 p.m. rolls around because you're tired. For 10 years, I've tried everything to take control of my life, but nothing really clicked until I discovered minimalism. Today, I want to share the 10 minimalist rules that I found to be extremely effective at making life simple again. It can be really hard to make rules into a habit, but even if you just apply one of these rules on a single day, you can still feel the difference at the end of the day. We'll start with rule number one, the make your bed rule. This rule was popularized by Navy SEAL Admiral William McRaven in his book Make Your Bed, Small Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. The core idea is that you want to start your day with a small win, and making your bed is probably the most easily accessible thing that you can accomplish in the morning. I'll be honest, I almost never make my bed in the morning, except on days when I clean my bed sheets or if some stranger has to tour my bedroom for some weird fetishy reason. But I can customize the make your bed rule in a way that doesn't betray its original intention. The key to this rule is to have a simple action with a clear start and a clear finish. My action of choice is to take my dog Toshi out to potty. You wait for her to finish, scoop it up, and drop it in the bin. Done and dusted. Decide on what your action is going to be the night before and perform your action as the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up. Start your day with a win. Pro tip, you'll become infinitely more successful at this rule if you charge your phone outside of the bedroom. And if you need an alarm clock, buy a separate device specifically designed for that. Rule number two, the Underpromise Overdeliver rule. This rule is a simplification of the Ivy Lee method, an already simple strategy where you write down the 6 most important tasks you need to complete the next day, ranked in order from most important to least important. And when the next day begins, you start with the first task and you don't stop until you finish. The core idea is to eliminate all the distractions. You just have to do these 6 things and you win the day. But why 6? 6 is an arbitrary number chosen by some diehard capitalist to make workers more productive. If you're a normal human being, you would understand that there are days when I can't even get a single thing done. And I just feel increasingly terrible as the day drags on. But I've also experienced days when I'm just in God mode. I can easily knock out 12 tasks at a time. Those are the days when I felt really good before the day had even begun. So feeling good is the real superpower here. How can I use a rule to make myself feel good on a more consistent basis? This is where the Underpromise Overdeliver rule kicks in. At its most extreme, you simply modify the Ivy Lee method and you change the number from 6 to 1. What is the single most important task that you need to complete today? If you can just knock out this one thing before noon, you'd have won the day. And if you still have energy left, anything else you do afterwards is a bonus. On really tough days, that one thing might just be to get out of bed and stretch, and you still be a winner. Rule number 3, the timeboxing rule. You probably heard of Pareto's principle before, which is the idea that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. Whenever you take action on something, there comes a point when you've used up 20% of your effort and achieved 80% of the results. Let's say you're writing an angry email to your neighbor who wants to call animal control on your dog because she's been intermittently barking at the windows. What you come up with in the first 20 minutes of writing that email probably conveys 80% of what you want to say. Of course, you can spend a few extra hours deliberating over individual word choices and how you can be more savage. But is this neighbor really worth your time in that way? The timeboxing rule is about using a timer. Whether you're cleaning your home, shopping for clothing online, or having an intense gossip session with your friends over text, I like to set a timer for 1 hour. And when the hour is up, I either stop what I'm doing or at least take a break and come back to it later. Good enough is often better than perfect, especially when perfect never arrives. Rule number 4, the Marie Kondo rule, Redefined. The original rule is very simple. Every item in your house should have a designated place. But I want to take it a step further. Every activity should have a place too. Bedrooms are for sleeping, not for binge watching YouTube. The kitchen table is for eating and socializing, not for dumping mail and half-open packages. Your balcony is a haven designed for evening tea and watching the sunset, not for more screen time with a different backdrop. When your physical spaces are clearly defined, your brain starts to associate these locations with specific states of mind. It becomes easier to sleep, to focus, to relax, because you've trained your body the places where those things happen. And if your space is too small, get outside. One park bench for reading, one coffee shop for writing. Minimalism is all about channeling focus on things that matter, and using your environment is a powerful way to do that. Rule number 5, the quality over quantity rule. This one's a bit tricky because these days, quality isn't obvious. Most of the stuff on the market is mass-produced by brands you've never heard of, designed to fall apart before the next upgrade cycle. So how do you spot quality? It's honestly a lot of trial and error. If I own something that coincidentally lasts a long time, I'll look for that brand first the next time I need to buy something. Having less but better things lets you focus your energy on the intention rather than on the items. Why do we own nail clippers? It's not to cut our nails, it's to feel clean and confident. Of course, it can be distracting if your nail clippers are dull and doesn't make that satisfying sound. But the act of grooming is the intention here, and you certainly don't need a dozen products to engage in grooming. Just look at how the monkeys do it. The quality over quantity rule doesn't just apply to objects, but it also applies to the intentions themselves. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be everything and do everything, but if you spend hours grooming every day, the physical reality we live in dictates that there will be less time for other things. This is not a judgment on grooming. I like spa days too, but I also like making videos and sleeping. We need to design our intentions carefully. Rule number 6, the no-buy rule. I love this rule because it's not about depriving yourself. It's about doubling down on what you already own. We often think we need more gear, more training, more talent, when in reality, we just need more repetitions. Take photography for example. I used to think that I needed a DSLR to be serious, but all I had was a phone, so I started there. I learned framing, lighting, editing, all with a camera I already had in my pocket. Eventually I outgrew it and upgraded, but by that time I already knew what I was looking for. The no-buy rule reminds you that there is more depth to be found in everything that you already do. If you love cooking, how can you combine the ingredients you already have in a novel way? How do you chop an onion more efficiently? Instead of focusing on acquiring new equipment, you focus on acquiring new knowledge and applying that knowledge through physical practice. It's also just a lot more impressive. Anybody can buy a piece of fancy equipment once they have enough money, but your skills are unique to you. No two chefs cook the same way. Rule number 7, the full body yes rule. You probably heard of this one before too, but if it ain't a full body yes, it's a no. The core idea is that many of us say yes to people out of habit, and we need to be more selective so we have time left to focus on ourselves. I think this rule is fairly self-explanatory. We can be too nice sometimes. When we go to a party, it can feel like we're just there to fill somebody else's body count. We're the background characters in a movie. Nice people can easily get taken advantage of when they don't stand up for themselves. One problem I have with this rule though is, what does it mean to have a full body yes? I am a calm introvert, and I feel like all my life, all I've ever experienced is a half body yes. So I'm going to make a modification to this rule for all the introverts out there. Instead of a full body yes, just say no. Just say no. I used to go out to eat with my friends once a week. Now I do it every other week. I don't feel like it's affected our friendship in any significant way. I might miss out on some real-time gossip, but I catch up the following week. Just saying no might not feel like much when life is going well, but being able to say no can be a lifesaver when life gets stressful. Rule number 8, the scheduled stillness rule. When I used to travel a lot, I like to book red-eye flights so I can have as much daytime as possible to go to all the places and do all the things. The one thing you would not find in my itinerary is scheduled time for nervous system maintenance. I just assumed it's normal to keep going until you crash. And even if there's downtime in my day, I like to fill it with some kind of consumption, like watching YouTube or reading books. What I discovered in recent years is that it can be a very powerful thing to learn to do nothing. Watching the sunset, sitting in a steam room, lying naked, ego sprawled on the heated stone floor of a Korean spa, feeling the warmth crawling into your skin. Scheduled stillness rule is not about falling asleep. It's about intentionally directing your waking energy towards nothing. The next time you find yourself worrying about nothing, as we all do, recall back to the time you practiced doing nothing and you can stop worrying. Rule number 9, the journaling rule. I've always been a fixer. Whenever I run into a problem, there's this beastly urge inside of me to fix it immediately. This is why I love being a software engineer. If there's a bug in the code, 99% of the time, I can fix it immediately. The 1% of the time when I can't, it's pure living hell. The journaling rule is designed to change your default behavior. There are very few things in life that needs to be solved immediately unless your house is on fire. Do this instead. Write down the problem, write down how you feel, and shelf it for tomorrow. When you find yourself in a calm emotional state, preferably in the morning when you're also wide awake and brimming with energy, review your journal and decide which problems are actually worth solving. And then go back and apply rule number 2 and rule number 3. Rule number 10, the bedtime fiction rule. I like to wind down the night the same way I wind up in the mornings, by looking at my phone. We're going full circle here. Maybe I just like the feeling of holding something heavy in my hand at the end of the day to feel safe as I tuck into bed. If that's the case, a Kindle is as good as a phone. These days, I've been reading A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on my Kindle. After I get into bed, I usually read for 30 minutes before I turn the lights off. Reading fiction before bed is kind of like slipping into a dream before the dream. It makes your dreams more exciting, and I think there's some science out there suggesting dreams are what makes us smarter, because that's when our neurons go into rapid fire and make babies with each other. Anyway, don't trust me, verify the science yourself. But the most important aspect of the bedtime fiction rule is for you to keep your phone as far away from your bedroom as possible. Leave it in another room. You're either reading a book or reading a Kindle, but not your phone. So these are my 10 minimalist rules. I'm actually a terrible rule follower, but sometimes I can behave in a consistent manner for weeks at a time. And trust me, life was so much simpler in those short-lived time periods. I still fall off of these rules completely from time to time, but they have been clearly defined. And in fact, I should pin them to my tack board. If any one of these rules stood out to you, try it. Just one. Try it for a week and see how it shifts things. You might be surprised by how much lighter life can feel. Thank you for bearing with me today. I think Toshi and I are going to go practice rule number 11, scheduled destruction. Toshi! Toshi! Toshi? What have you done? This was not yours to destroy.